Time to start. I don't see the. Let's do one thing. Okay, fine. Ramya, it's a good time to start, right? I will assume that as an yes. Perfect. Let's get started. I wanted to ask a few things. Yesterday, I could uh, see a few other questions flowing in after nearing to the session end time. I would recommend that if you have any question during the session, try to key in all those questions around before 7:40 as an time window, so that at least when I actually start picking up the question, all the questions are there. Okay. I have a hard bound on the time. That is where I couldn't go beyond 8. And with that, now, yesterday we completed the DML session and we understood the purpose of the DML, what are the variants available within the DML, right? Essentially, we tried and tested all the 7, 8 forms of the insert query. We tried the delete query, we tried the update query, right? Uh, Today, we are not going to talk about the merge. Merge, anyways, I will cover during the if-else condition because it is a bit complex structure. Do remember, merge is also a DML command, but it does not have the capability of its own. It is a conditional flow. Whether a condition match, it will do a insert. If the condition doesn't match, it will do the update or delete, depending upon your choice, what you want to do or what the business wants to do during a match or not no match condition. So during if-else coverage, I will cover the merge command syntax. Uh, and today, what we'll do, we'll start with the other part of the SQL. So I repeatedly say the same line again and again throughout the series because SQL or the SQL has the capability to do three things. One, store, retrieve, and manipulate. So which command stack helped in during the doing the storage? Partly DDL, yes. That's why the storage is partly associated to the DDL. Manipulation, because the update query helps in manipulating the data. You don't have a data row in the table, you are inserting new fresh rows of data, insert queries, and you want to delete existing data set from the table or delete queries, right? So insert, update, and delete help in doing the modification part, store, retrieve, and manipulation, the manipulation part of the SQL. Now, the part that we'll study today is known as the retrieval part of the data, right? In case you have the data stored within the database, what would you do to retrieve all those data? Okay. So to do that, what we'll do, we'll start a new query. And then I will go to my PPT. Let me figure out my PPT. Where are the PPT? Okay. Let's start with, sorry about that. It is DQL. Okay. Today we'll, like I said, merge. I'm not going to talk about it. Merge will come during the if-else conditioning. Today we are going to do the data query language today. Okay. What is the data query language? Do remember DQL is the important statement that everybody should know and get yourself versed with, because during your data engineering sessions, the biggest part that you will do, definitely load the data, definitely transform the data. But the bigger part is taking out the actual data set that is needed for your analytical studies, right? Think about this, there are a lot form of raw data available across the ecosystem. You use insert queries, delete queries, data pipelines, and all those methods to you have created your table structure or your data cubes if you are using a data warehousing concepts and stuff. You have You have your dimensions ready, you have your tables loaded with the data set. But now, how do you see the data? What exact data is there inside the table? How do you see that? To see what exactly, or to retrieve what exactly is there within a table container, we use the language provided by SQL, is known as data query language. The data query language has only one command available, and it is the most powerful command, and it is known as the select command. Okay, let's go back to the data query language definition. What it says, the DQL is a command that helps in querying and retrieving data stored in a table. Using the DQL command, we can view records saved in the table, right? Whatever data is saved within the table. Do remember these two terms. Get yourself versed with this two term. One, table. Table means you will read in articles entity. When you see a word called as entity, do remember that entity means a table, organized table. When you see record, the rows inside the table is known as the record. Okay. When you read attribute, attribute means name of the column. So either people say table and column, people say attributes and entities, or the another representation of this data set in row by row manner is row set or the record set. Okay. So the DQL is used to retrieve the data that is stored within the table. What is the command available to help retrieve the data? Like I said, there is only one command known as select. So in DDL, we have studied 5 commands: create, alter, drop, rename, truncate. In DML, we have studied 4 commands. Actually, didn't study 4, we studied 3: insert, update, delete, but merge, also merge. And then within the data query language, we have select command. Okay, let us go to the definition and purpose of this particular command. Okay, it helps in selecting records from SQL tables. Okay, from SQL tables. And select command helps in retrieving data stored inside a table or a view. Table is a physical data container. Do remember, I will talk about this in a separate manner. View, these two keyword also do remember. Table is a physical data container. View is a logical data container. These are two objects from where the select query selects the data. Why I'm talking about the table and view right now? Table is a physical container where the data will be stored inside the database. View is an abstraction on top of the table where the data is stored. So we'll study view maybe 9 or 10 session down the line. Okay. Do not get bothered about what these terms are, but at least get yourself versed that table is a physical container where the data is stored. Okay, and view is the logical container where the um, uh, data is stored, and view actually derives the data from the underlying table. And I have given some definition of the view and table. We'll actually anyways go and cover a lot of content around the view during the view sessions. Okay, now this is the interview question, the slide deck 6. Okay, write the complete syntax of a select query. This is what the complete structure of a select query look like. Okay, how does how do you remember the syntax of the select query? And it is very important, do remember, if you are going for interviews between 0 to 3 years of experience, right? This question is a 10 on 10 question. If you are going for a data engineering interview, this also question is a must question to remember. Okay, what do you need to remember? The syntax. How do you remember the syntax? Okay, the select query comes with this particular pattern. To remember this particular statement, select data from container. Okay, how do you remember the syntax? Select data from container where a condition is true, where a condition is true, uh, group by certain columns, order by group by certain columns, having a certain condition, order by certain column. Okay, I'm saying a single English statement. Okay, I'm repeating the same statement again. Select data from container. Okay, from container where certain conditions are true, where certain conditions are true, group by certain columns having certain conditions true, order by certain columns. Okay, that would be the pattern. Just a second. So to be very specific, this is how the syntax for the SQL query, SQL select statement goes. Okay. We are not going to do everything today. This particular select will be covered over next 3 to 4 session. Okay, it is one of the biggest topic that we are going to cover. So what we are going to study, we will start with the select till where condition at least today. Okay, we'll see how exactly the select work, what are the capabilities select offer, and how do you do that. Okay. Now, if I have to go back to the example stack, okay, for the exercise, we have created a customer table, okay. Now, what I will do is I will actually try to insert a few records into the table. Let's see a structured table. We'll go back to our query window. We'll say first see what data is there inside the customer table. How do I write the select query? Select star from customer table, customers table. Okay, I'm saying select star. What star means? What star means all column. Okay, do remember star means all column. If you do not specify column, that means by default all the columns will be selected. So when what did I say? Select data from container. So data is star. I'm saying select all column from the container. Container means what? Where the data is stored. So the data that is stored within the customer table, please show me all the data. Okay, select star from the container is the syntax. By default, I can see certain data rows are available in the table. But for my study purpose today, I'm not going to use the data that is there within the table. Maybe we'll do some proper data formatting today. Okay. So before doing that, what command can help me delete all those data row? I can use the truncate command, truncate all the existing record. So I will say truncate table customers. Let's see whether all the data are clean. There is no data row remaining. So what I will do, I will say go again. I will now do insert into the customer table and try inserting certain data row into the table. Let's see how does it look like now. Execute. Yes, some data rows get inserted. I can execute the select star again. Yeah, I could see some data row in the proper format getting inserted. 1 till 9 records are there within the table. Okay. Now we'll start with the basic selection part of the problem. I will go by the slide, in that way it will be easy for you to follow even. Okay. So now in select, there are two capabilities that you have to remember. Do remember the query that we have written inside. This is also an interview question. Just take a note of this. In a select query, what is the important clause or what is the mandatory clause? Do remember, if you are not selecting the data from a table, then only the select keyword is the mandatory clause. Do you remember what? In a select query, if you are not selecting the data from the table, then only select clause is mandatory. If you are selecting the data from a container, table or a view, then from clause is also mandatory. In this entire big syntax of select query, we have seen so many clauses: select, from, join, on, where, group by, having, order by. So many clauses are there, but what is mandatory? It is not actually throwing error, even if I don't write all these things out, right? What I'm going to do, in the select query, if you are selecting the data from a container, then from is mandatory. If you are not selecting the data from the container, that means, can I say I want to multiply 2 into 2? Can I do that? Select 2 into 5. Say for an example, I want to do that. I'm not selecting any data from a container, right? If I do that, then only select keyword is the mandatory thing. Can you see that? In SQL Server, do remember we are talking about the SQL Server as a product. In Postgre, from clause is important. In Postgre, you have to say select star from dual, or you have to say, if you are doing the Oracle, you have to say from dual. If you do not know what container to look for, DUAL is a dummy table that is available in other DB, but in SQL Server that is not needed. Do remember again, in SQL Server as a database product, SQL Server as a database product, if you are not selecting the data from a container, then select keyword is the only keyword, that still works fine, right? But if you are selecting the data from a container means a table or a view, then you have to write from clause. That is, these are the two important interview question. Now, do remember another pattern. In select query, there are two capabilities. One, if somebody asks you project the data, there are two terminology. One is known as a projection, other is known as a selection. You must have, if you are coming from the engineering background, you must have studied about it. Projection means select all the data that is available within the container without any restriction. That means what? Select all the column from the table without a where condition. If you are writing this particular column, what is our intention? Show me all the data that is available in the customer. That means I am projecting all the data from the table. Okay. Projection means what? Projection means project all the data that is available in a container. Okay. Selection. Selection means what? Either you select a specific row or some specific column or some specific rows that is subset of the actual data set. If you are only selecting customer ID, the highlighted area, right? That is a selection. If you are selecting customer ID and zip code, that is a customer ID and zip code, right? That is again a selection. If you are only highlighting row 1 and row 2, that is also a selection. Why? Because you are selecting subset of the total data. If you are doing that particular exercise is known as a selection. Okay, projection and selection are two concepts that you should actually remember as a keyword. Not an interview question, but industry uses this term frequently. If you see that somebody is saying project all the data, that means he's saying write a select star from the table name. Okay. Like I have already explained, select is the command that actually fetches the data. It is an instruction to the database engine that please get me the data. Now I am trying to do the retrieval operation of the stored data from the DB. Okay. Star means what? Star means select all the columns. From means from defines from which container you want to select the data, right? And then the container name, right? If you want to select the data from employee table, you will say select star from employee. If you want to select the data from department table, you will say select star from department. Okay. Star means all column. Now we'll talk about the selection part. Okay. Like I have already explained in the select query, select and from clauses are mandatory column. If you are selecting, I have to say that if you are selecting data, if you are selecting data from table. Okay. Do remember this. Else, you know that only select clause is the important one. In SQL Server database, select command is mandatory. From, join, where, group by, order by, select is also are known as clauses, right? I was showing the in the entire structure of the select query, we are saying that selects data from the container where condition is true, group by column names, hubbing condition is true, order by certain column, right? That is how the entire thing is written. So all those clauses, those are known as clauses in select query. All these clauses are optional clauses. Okay. Now, if I go to the other part, now we'll talk about the selection part. We did project all the data. Project means collect all the data from the database and then, grab all the data from the table and then show all the data. But selection is the most important aspect that you will be doing. You are not going to project all the data from the container all the time. What you would do, actually what you would do, you will try to select selective data from the container. How do you do that, right? Like I said, selection is the objective where you are going to get the subset of the data, not the actual data. Subset of the data can be selective columns or selective rows. How do you do that? To do that, you have to use the clause known as where condition, or you have to use the selective condition, right? Let us do first row restriction, then we'll see the column restriction. How do you do the selection using the row restriction and column restriction? Okay, so I will go back to my query window. I want to do first, I want to do the column restriction. Say for an example, I want to do the column restriction. What is column restriction or column selection? Column selection. Column selection means I will say select. I only want to see the customer ID and their street. I don't want to see the other data set. I don't want to see the zip code, or I want to see the house number, right? I'm selecting a subset of the data. Okay. Do remember, you must be seeing I'm writing everything in different line. If I write everything in the same line, will it not work? Yes, absolutely it will work. But as per the coding practices, do remember, you try to adhere to this particular standard of writing. What? Write the select clause. After that, give a line break. After that, write your columns in one by one column list, then write a from condition, then go to the container. This is how the industry write your select queries. Okay, industry. You can write the entire statement in single line. You can write break up on the particular line for the readability. It gives you the better readability. It gives you the control. What are you trying to do? You are saying I'm trying to select these two columns from the container. Okay, your queries can be span across thousands of lines, right? It will be very difficult for you if you are not adhering a coding standard. So nomenclature is always keep your keywords like select from all the clauses in different line, and within those clauses, whatever is contributing to the data extraction conditions and something in different lines as well. Okay. So if I execute this particular line, what I'm trying to do, though there are 9 rows of data and 4 column of data, but I am actually selecting 2 column out of it. This is the way I can restrict my data set. Okay. So this particular way of selecting the data is known as the column selection. Okay. Now we'll go and do the row selection. I want to restrict my rows of information depending upon a condition meet. How do you do that? How do I do that? I want to say select all the data from customers table when I want to apply a row restriction. Row restriction means what? You have to write certain condition to identify which rows of data are meeting my condition, what I want to extract. In the database table, there are certain data rows where the street is mentioned as Germany. Can you see that? Row number 1 and row number 6 are mentioned where the street is mapped as 6. I want to see, tell me all the data that is available in the table where the street address matches Germany. Okay. If I want to do that, then essentially let's see how exactly it throws the record back. Can you see? Now I can write with a where condition, the condition that I want to meet for my particular clause, right? Where street equal to Germany. So the column name equals to value set. That is how you will write a where condition. Now we are introduced to a condition called as where clause. What does where clause do? Where clause allows you to apply row restriction. In the first time we studied about the column restriction, column selection. Column selection means you are selecting only subset of the data from the subset of the data from the table. But in the row selection, you are actually applying a filter. Row selection means what? You are applying a filter on the data row depending on certain column. Here I am applying the filter on the street. You can choose to apply the filter on anything. Okay. Now, where condition is the most powerful clause inside the select command, where that allows you to apply different kinds of filter. Okay. Now we know that how do I do the row restriction. Let us understand what are the possibilities within the row restriction clauses as well. Okay. Now let's go back and see explanation of the command. I have already told about it. Where condition apply finding specific data from the table. Yeah. Okay. Now do remember what are the operators. So now I said that we are saying the column name equals to value. This equals to is known as an operator. Okay. How many types of how many types of operators are available inside SQL? There are high levelly 2 to 3 categories of operator available. One is known as a mathematical operator. Equals to, greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to. These are actually the mathematical operators. If I have to talk about some other operators like yeah, plus minus multiplication division are also mathematical operator. If I have to talk about what the other operators are also possible in select, you have logical operators like and, or, not, and in operator. Okay. There are pattern search operator, and that particular pattern search operator is known as a like operator, and we'll study one by one, everything we'll study. Okay. But do remember these are all mathematical operators, so we'll practice certain queries to see what kind of operators are available within the SQL. Okay. Let us start with in operator. Let's see what exactly happens. Okay. what exactly happens. Okay, now I wrote a condition to verify, give me the data from the customer table, give me the data from the customer's table where street equal to Germany. But can I write a condition, tell me or give me the data from the customer's table where IDs are greater than, ID of the customer ID is greater than 2 or 3? Can I do that? Yes, I can do that. If I have to do that, how do I do? So I would say select star from the table name. Then I will say where customer ID is numeric, so it is an integer column. So I will say where customer ID is greater than 3. Can you show me all the data rows where the customer ID is greater than 3? I can see all the data rows, those are customer ID is greater than 3. Can I see that show me all the data where the customer ID is less than 3, where the customer ID is less than 5? That means I am trying to see. Okay, do remember the greater than and less than works with a specific pattern. When you use greater than, it is always boundary that you need to look for. When you are saying greater than 3, it will never include 3 within the conditional range, right? Greater than 3 means what? It will be always greater than 3, that is 4 5 6 7 8. When you are saying less than 5, that means it is again excluding the boundary. So if I do the select less than 5, that means it will be 1 2 3 4, not including the 5 boundary. Okay, do remember there are certain operator that goes for the boundary as well, but less than and greater than definitely are not including the boundary. Boundary means what? Not including 3. If I'm saying greater than 3, 3 will not be included. If I'm saying less than 5, 5 will not be included. It will be less than that particular number. Okay. What do I say if I have to say tell me everything where the customer ID is bit less than or equal to 5, right? I can say when I say less than, it will say 1 2 3 4. But if I have to say less than or equal to, I can say less than or equal to sign for the finding all the data row where the data is between 1 to 5, right? Including the boundary. If I have to say include 5 also within the list, then I can say less than or equal to. Similar pattern you can use if you want to say show me all the data where the data is greater than or equal to 5. I can say greater than or equal to 5. Okay, that is also possible by writing that particular condition. Including 5, you say whatever data row is available within the table where the data row is greater than 5. Okay, now there is a special operator also available that also does the same thing. Okay, can I say something? Tell me all the data where the data row is uh, can I say tell me all the data where the data row is less than 3 or more than 5? Can I say that? If I have somebody ask me a question, tell me all the record that is available within the database that is less than 3 and greater than 6, but not in between. If somebody asks that, how do I do that? So what I have to say, I have to combine condition. How do I do? I will say tell me data rows where the data is less than or equal to 3 and or I will say or means what? The condition should match. Either the data is matching less than 3 is fine with me, or if the data is matching greater than 6 is fine with me. Okay. So what I will say or customer ID where data row is greater than or equal to 6. Okay. This is another way of combining condition. You can combine multiple condition by doing this. Can you see? Now I got the data row 1, 2, 3 and more than 6 I said, right? 4, 5 is gone and I can see 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So I have combined my data rows by writing a or condition. Do remember or is an condition that allows to fetch you data row wherever the condition matches the left part or the right part. It looks for both the things. Okay, and not as a combination logic. It is looking for the data in a independent manner. Okay, clear about this particular point? I can combine multiple columns using a or and condition. We'll see how do we combine the and condition as well. Now there is another operator available known as between and operator. If somebody asks me a question, can you show me the data where the customer ID is between 2 to 5? Can you show me the data where the customer ID is between 2 to 5? I have the option of writing this, right? Either I can do this. What I would say? I would say where the customer ID is between 2 and 5. That means what? It would be definitely greater than or equal to 2, correct? It will be greater than or equal to 2 and less than equal to 5. Is that correct? Or less than or equal to 5. I can do that. So it will give me the data row between 2 to 5. But did I do some mistake? Yes, I did a mistake by writing the or condition, right? So what it did, let's see. This particular part, it satisfied the condition where the data row is greater than 2, right? So any data row that matched the data row greater than 2, that qualifies from between 2 to 9, right? Now it is a or condition. So it actually evaluated back again. Tell me all the data row that matches row ID less than 5. So it independently evaluated that row ID less than 5 or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So all the data rows came up, and actually you are not looking for that data. You are actually looking for the data between 2, 3, 4, right? You are saying greater than 2 and less than 5. That means 2, 3, 4, 5 you are looking for. But now it has actually given you the data, all the data from the table. Why? Because this particular part matched a part of the data, this particular data set matched part of the data, right? Or condition, evaluate every condition independently and do not match them. But if I have to match them together, right, then I have an operator known as AND condition. Okay, I'll change my OR pattern to and it will return me the exact match. Can you see? I changed my OR to and what it did, it exactly evaluated what is the data that is greater than 2 and what is the data that is less than 5. So exactly it matched the data rows where this particular condition is matched. So if you want to evaluate each of the condition together that has a value, then use the AND operator between the clause. If you want to evaluate them independently together, independently, customer ID less than 3 is fine with you, customer ID greater than 6 is fine with you, use the OR condition. When to use AND? When you are looking for a data range very specifically within a range, and you are you are sure that I'm looking for a data for this particular category and this particular category, both are matching, then I want the data. So you can apply the AND condition. Now I have a special operator known as between AND operator. Okay, I can use the same filter. I will say select all the data from the table where the customer ID is between 2 and 5. This is also an interview question, and there are a pattern available for the between and customer ID between 2 and 5. Okay, this also will give you the data row between 2 and 5. Okay, let's see that first. Can you see it? It has also given you the data between 2 and 5. Do remember, within the between and operator, the first value has to be minimum. The second part of the value has to be maximum. If you reverse this particular thing, it will not give you any data. Do remember, in interviews, in the written interviews or in the verbal interview, this is the tricky interview question from the between and side. In the between and, if you change the value, I will say, give me the data between 5 and 2. Can I not say that? Yeah, that is a valid ask. I'm looking for 2 and 5. Data between 5 and 2 is also a valid ask. But if you write that, do you get the data? Is the question. You don't get data, right? Always remember, this is the tricky part with the between and. The lower range has to be greater than the max range, right? So in the between, you say the start value. After and you say the end value, and both the values are inclusive values. Do remember, in the between and operator, both the ends are included within your list. So you will see in the select, somebody say that if I write between 2 and 5, whether 2 and 5 will be selected or not. Answer is yes, because between and says that 2 and 5 will be included list. Okay, and the value, if you say what do you say? Okay, these are the two interview questions on the between and segment of the business. So what did we do? We studied a series of condition. We started with, you can write equal to operator, you can write greater than operator, you can write less than operator, you can write less than equal to, you can write greater than equal to, you can do less than equal to or greater than equal to. Possible, if you want to condition merge, then you have to write or condition. If you want to do both the condition evaluation together, then first condition and the second condition. If you want to see a selection of the data between a data range, then you have to use between and. Typically, between and is used for the data type of numeric or date time. Between these two data types, this between and operator works perfectly fine. Okay. between and is predominantly designed for numeric type of data, like in the customer ID or for the date time type of data. We are going to use the between and. Will solve a lot of exercise that will give you much more clarity around that. Okay. And also to one thing to remember within the between and is that the lower value starts, lower value has to be lesser as compared to the max value. Okay. Now we'll also talk about a few operator known as in. Okay, like we did this particular operator, we have some operator known as uh, in operator. Let's see, how do I do the in? Say for an example, question is, can you show me all the data where the customer ID is between 1, 3 and 5? Somebody asked me, show me where the customer ID is matching either 1 or 3 or 5. I have the option of writing the query in two way. One, I would say customer ID equals to 1 or customer ID equals to 3 or customer ID equal to 5. I can do that, right? Because each of my independent evaluation will happen, right? If it matches customer ID equal to 1 or 3 or 5, it will actually give me the data row. So let me see that. It evaluated where the data row matches 1, it gave me, where the data row matches 3, it gave me, where the data row matches 5, it gave me. But what about I have to say, write a query to match hundreds of values. I can't do that by writing so many or. That is not a good pattern. So how do you do that? There is an operator available in SQL known as in operator. So how do you match the value, list of values? It is a list of value that I'm looking for. How do I match the list of value? I will say customer ID in 1, 3, 5. So this is going to tell you that wherever my customer ID matches between a list of value, you can give me that particular thing. Whether like the between and there is a rule that the mean value has to be the minimum and the max value has to be the maximum, right? Whether in operator works that way, absolutely not. You can actually scatter your data set. It doesn't matter. You can randomly write, I want the data set 6 first and 1, 3, 5. It actually uses or pipeline wherever the data pipeline, but then it doesn't break. It is immaterial whatever data is passed within the list. Whether it is a sorted list, whether it is a non-sorted list, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, which is now somebody want to ask me, tell me all the data, get me all the data from the table where the data rows are not 1, 3, 5 and 6. How do I do that? I have a special operator available in SQL known as not operator. You apply the not before any logical operator that actually computes the negation part of it. So I would say in 6315, if I say not 636135, it will get me all the data where the ID is not 1365. Let's see, it will give me 24789 where the data is not 6135. If I have to say that where the data is not matching this value, you can simply specify a not operator on top of it. Okay. Now, if I have to go back to my list, I have given the definition and everything. You can just read through. I have, yeah, you can do the not in. I have already demonstrated the not in. Not in works for every type of operator. I can actually copy this part of the data set. I want to say that give me all the straight, right? I can say give me all the data where the street is not in either street not does not belong to Germany, Mexico, or Sweden, right? Give me all the data from the table where the street is not matching these three conditions. Yeah, I can see all the street where the UK, France, Spain, and France has come, but Germany, Mexico, and Sweden are eliminated. So not in works for every category of the data type. Okay. Now, if I go back to the slide, we have discussed about the OR operator. We have discussed about the AND operator. We have discussed about these are the logical operators that is available that you can actually use to compute. Okay. And I have given the link to the W3 schools where you can actually go and look for the examples as well. Now, let me talk about this particular operator. We have spoken about the between and operator. We have spoken about is null operator. That's interesting. I didn't talk about that yet. Okay. Now I don't have a null data type available in my table. Let me see, do I have a null available anywhere? I don't have a null, but I can update something as null. Okay. How do I update something? I will do one update query. I will say update table name is my table name is customers. I would say update table name set column name equals to value. I want to set house number as null for a few customers. House number equals to null for where I would say where condition I can apply. So I will say where where customer ID in 1 comma 5. Where the customer ID in 1 and 5, you make the street house number to null. Okay, let's see all the data from the customer. I will see the null data. Can you see? Null is a, do you remember? Null is a special data type in SQL that does mean nothing, absolute nothing. It doesn't match with any data. It is not even blank. It is not even zero. Okay, null means null. Null means an unassigned value. It is a special data type in SQL. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually do one thing. I would like to see, show me the data where the data matches. Tell me what are the data where my house number is set as null or the house number is empty. How do I do that? I would say select star from the customers. Select star from the customers where house number is null. Okay, you let us see what is the difference between equal to null and house number. So if I say house number equals to null, right, by far we have done this equal to operator so many times, right? Let's see if I do that, this house number equal to null, will it give me the data? Let's see that. It is not giving me the data. I have seen there are null data available, but it, do remember null matches nothing. So equal to operator always look for matching a value. Okay, null means it is not a value, so you cannot match not a value with not a value. Every null, this null is not equal to this null also. These are all empty and that they do not match with anything. Okay, so if you write where house number equal to null, that is never going to work in SQL. So what you should do whenever you have to retrieve the null data type, you have to say is null. Okay, because it is a logical comparison, you have to say where house number is null. Null is a special data type, that means it is a nothing value, absolutely no blank, nothing. Okay, so if you have to look for this particular value, you have to say is null and it could found out the null data. If you have to say tell me all the data row where the house number is not null, can I do that? Where the house number is not null, right? I can do this particular combination of the string as well. Show me the data where the house number is not null. So it eliminated those null values and and showed me all the data where the house number is not null. Okay. Now let's go back. Let's see. Zip code is not null is shown. Yeah, these are the pattern matching. I will actually continue from here tomorrow. I want to give back time to you to ask question. So I will take a pause here. Let me go back to the chart window. Let's start discussing the questions now. Where are the questions? Okay, let's see. Pradeep is saying, Pradeep, hi. What if I need only the data from prime number or odd numbers? You want to do that? Yes, we have that particular logic. That would be an exercise for you. Why don't you try that out? You can do that. There is an operator available. Okay, let me show you how do you do that. There is an operator available, modular percentage. Okay, this is an example I can say. See, for an example, your question is, can you tell me all the data where my ID is from the even number set? Okay, where I would say where customer ID modular percentage 2. How do you define a even number? Any number divisible by 2 is an even number. Any number that you divide by 2 and you get a remainder is 0, that is a even number. 2 by 2 remainder 0, 4 by 2 remainder 0, 5 by 2 remainder 1, 6 by 2 remainder 0, 7 by 2 remainder 1, right? Whenever your remainder is equal to 0, that means it is an even number. Do remember there is an operator available in SQL Server known as modular percentage. It is a percentage sign. So if you divide a number by 2, whatever remainder it will get, it will tell you, right? So if I will say, if you divide my customer ID with modular percentage 2 and the remainder is coming as 0, that essentially that means these are odd numbers. Sorry, these are even numbers. Okay. Can you see? Now all the customer ID where the ID is the even number is coming. If I want to say, tell me all the number where the number is an odd number. I know that if it is an odd number, the remainder will always be greater than 0. Is that understanding correct? So if I say the remainder is greater than 0 or not 0, either way it will work. This is going to give me the number for all the odd number series. Okay. For the prime number, you cannot write a singular function to get it done, because you have to, for a prime number, what is the prime number? Prime number is only divisible by itself, right? So 1, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, those are prime numbers, right? So typically you have to write and function to compute if it is a prime number, then figure out those numbers and then pass it to the operator. For even odd, that is straight computation, you can do it. But for the computation that needs looping through the values, that essentially mean you have to either write a function to compute it, or you have to write a correlated or a commentable expression to do it. Essentially both the ways work. Maybe we'll look for this particular prime number series during our correlated subquery and the commentable expression thing. What if I need only the data? Now Srini, I hope you got the answer. Sir, please explain about primary key and combines. We got Yeah, we are definitely going to discuss about it, about the primary keys and all those things in the subsequent session. It is coming as a full-fledged session. I asked Ramya, I have given you the question for you to get a clarity, right? That these kind of question might come. You no need to worry. We are anyways going to talk about the primary key and the different kinds of constant at the whole section, maybe 4 session down the line. So hold on to this particular question. Any other question? How can we assign a number to variable and perform a operation by calling it? Yes, we can do that. So there is a keyword available inside SQL Server known as declare keyword. Okay. When you want to declare a variable, how do you do that? Declare @sign, you give a variable name. I will say declare street. I will give a variable name as street. I will say declare street. What type of data it will have? It will be a varchar 40 data type. Okay, I want to assign set the value of the street as Mexico. Okay, set the value of the street as Mexico and then look for the select query. Can I do that? Select from this where street equals your street column equals to street data. Street equals street variable. So I have declared a variable. Any variable in SQL Server is defined with a @sign. If you have to declare a keyword called declare. Then you have to say the variable name. Variable name always comes with a @sign. Then you have to define the data type. Set is the operator that you should use to set the variable equals to value. Set variable name equals to value. And then I will actually compare all this value. Let's see. It didn't match my street equal to street. Did I not do? Oh yeah, I copied a Mexico with a space. Sorry about that. Yeah, can you see? Now it is taking the variable value as Mexico and then it is comparing the value. I have a doubt. Can you help me in how to import external Excel file, import external file here? This question is irrelevant in this session. We can do that. I will show you during the import export wizard. Okay. I can show you to import the data for our CSV file, right? We did this particular exercise that day, right? The name, background, and experience thing. What I can do is I can actually file open, file new, and then I will say, maybe what I will do is I will actually show you this exercise tomorrow because it actually needs you to understand thoroughly. There are multiple ways of importing this data actually. Whoever has asked the question, it is a valid question because that is there in our course. So do not jump the gun. There is a task and import export wizard. Can you see this import flat file wizard is there? You define your flat file and use the import flat file and look at the flat file. choose the delimiter. What would be the delimiter to identify the column and rows? I will show you this as a fast activity tomorrow. So that not tomorrow, actually, it is there around session 8 or 9. Import, export, bulk insert, all those commands are there going to be covered as a part of the SQL. So hold on to this particular question. There are multiple ways to do it. How do you do that? There are programs available known as bulk insert. Okay, command available that can help you do this bulk insert operation altogether. This particular command helps you import the data. The data in import wizard, like I showed, tasks, import flat file, that can also help you data. Import data also help you import data. There is a SQL CMD command that is help you to import data. All the three options I will show you during that particular session. Okay. I will hold on to this particular question. Any other question or external exercise table here? Yesterday I raised a question, but I didn't get an answer. I need the data from the table from. I need a data from the table from last, as we are using top 0 to show data from top, but I need from bottom. So what command I need to do? Okay, you are saying top 0, right? Top 0 means what? Yesterday we did this exercise. I believe top 0, where did I show that? But I didn't get the question thoroughly, but what I'm assuming, you want to get the data from the top 0. When you say top 0 means what? It is always no record. 0 means nothing to be selected. See, if I say select top 0 star from, I can do this. Okay, there is no bottom operator. Okay, do you remember? There is no bottom operator, but there is a way you can find it out. There is top 0 star. Top 0 means what? You get me data only, no records from the table. I'm saying top 0 means no record. Okay, but if you want to say, tell me, get me data from the bottom, but I don't want it, right? Top 0 star, I'm saying, right? I'm saying top 1 star. You see this first. You are saying top 1 star. That means you get me the customer ID in the fast go. But I want to see the bottom record. I want to see the 9th record first. How do I do that? I would say top 1, but in the reverse direction. What do I do? Order by customer ID in the descending pattern. First you descending them and then take the 1. This is the way you can get the bottom list. Can you see the bottom record now came 1 to 9 series, and then you have to sort depending upon your data record, and then you still the same top 1 record will get you the bottom list. You have to reverse the order and then get it. In SQL Server there is no operator known as bottom. Okay, clear about that particular thing? But I need from bottom, so what command I can use? There is no special command. You have to use the order by to order the data set and then use the top sequence. Any other question? I have confusion using data types. Please explain when to use different data type. I have a dedicated session coming up. Hold on to that particular question around the data type. We'll actually study about the data type in a whole class. Any other question? I think I have covered majority of them. Okay, what exactly is information schema and how to use it? Okay, very good. Information schema is a metadata view that SQL Server always remembers. Okay, information schema is a metadata view that contains all the definition of other tables available within the database server. Information schema, I want to know, tell me all the tables that exist within the database. I can say information schema dot tables. Okay, information schema is by default a metadata view. Metadata means what? Data about data. So information schema is a system metadata view that keeps track of all other objects available within the data record. If I want to know how many other tables are available within my database, tell me that. Tell me all the columns available in the table, right? I have lot of metadata columns available. Columns. I want to see that. I can do that. Okay, metadata columns. Right, all the columns available in every table. That is how the information schema is used. It is a metadata view and it contains our data about data. We'll talk about this particular thing during the session number 9 and 10, during when we'll study about how do you program using a looping and construct. We'll definitely use the information schema at that point in time. Okay, thank you. I believe everything is done. Thank you team.